What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, coach of your Montreal Milotic, and welcome to episode number 3 of our Pokemon Profile series, a guide to competitive Pokemon in 5 minutes or less. In this series, I'm going to be giving you a detailed look at the Pokemon we're covering in just 5 minutes. So if you enjoy the series, make sure to leave a like and of course subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check the description for my Twitter and Discord server links. And without further ado, let's start the timer. Today we are covering Tapu Fini. We'll begin by taking a look at Tapu Fini's typing. Being water and fairy, it's pretty unique, sharing this typing with Azumarill and with Primarina. This has a very unique typing, of course, being weak to only 3 typings: electric, grass, and poison. Its stats are pretty good too, having base 70 HP, 115 defense, and 130 special defense, allows it to take many hits. Now, even though it doesn't have the best recovery options in the world, if you manage to have Z options on this Pokemon, you can run something like Z Haze, which will clear your opponent's stat raises, and at the same time, it'll boost your HP back up to 100%, which can just give Tapu Fini a second chance at walling your opponent, or even at just going to town with its powerful offensive moves, because Tapu Fini does have decent and respectable special attack at base 95 and speed at base 85. Now, obviously, base 95 special attack may not be the greatest, but you do have access to Calm Mind, which will boost your special attack and special defense by 1 stage, allowing you to take more hits and at the same time dish out so much more damage. Obviously, when you're looking at its offensive move pool, its special move pool is pretty damn good. Overall, one of the coolest things that it can get is access to obviously Surf and Moonblast. That dual stab is really powerful. You'll also have access to moves like Ice Beam and Blizzard, Shadow Ball. You have access to Grass Knot, and of course all the hidden powers. Moving on though, it does get a couple supporting moves which are very useful. I mentioned Haze before, but it also gets access to moves like Nature's Madness, like all the rest of the Tapus do, which is just incredible because sometimes they don't want to be putting out a ton of damage, and Nature's Madness having that consistent amount of damage is just so nice to have. Of course, you get access to Defog. You're an incredible defogger, actually. You also have access to Knockoff, which is just so useful to have for so many situations. The ability to get rid of a Pokemon's item is really valuable. And of course, you have access to dual screens, and one of my favorite moves in the game being actually Magic Coat. Magic Coat is really cool to have, especially because Pokemon might want to try and set up hazards against you, and if you can Magic Coat them back, then your opponent is kind of in a sticky situation. And of course, Taunt is a really cool move as well. Being 85 base speed allows you to outspeed many slower Pokemon that do want to set up hazard or whatever it may be. Just use a non-attacking move, and Taunt can shut that down for you really effectively. Next up though, its ability in Misty Surge. Now, Misty Surge, guys, is a unique ability to Tapu Fini on its own, summoning the Misty Terrain, which will make it so that no Pokemon can be paralyzed, burned, toxic, or put to sleep for the next 5 turns. Now, of course, that will increase if you have the Terrain Extender, which is really undervalued as an item, of course. Now, one of the coolest things that Misty Surge also does do is it weakens the power of Dragon type moves. I believe the way it works is Pokemon who are grounded, they take less damage from Dragon type attacks, and that can be very useful to help you set up with something or potentially live a hit that you wouldn't have lived before. Looking at what it does for a team, obviously a bulky fairy and water type is extremely useful. Many teams have them, and just the typing in general is really incredible. I mentioned before, it only has 3 weaknesses in grass, poison, and electric, and overall, not every team has a grass type, not every team has a poison type. Most teams have electric types, and of course, Fini is just such a huge sponge that it can take many hits for you. It also works as a very good setup sweeper because of that comment like I mentioned before, and access to its insane defensive stats, meaning that it can take these hits, then set up to +1 or even +2, and then fire back a +2 Scald, Surf, Moonblast, whatever the case may be. This Pokemon is really strong, and if you pair it with a Papa Berry, one of those super recovery berries like that, or the leftovers, or just Z Haze even like I mentioned before, you'll be able to get a second chance to blow your opponent back. And of course, as a support Pokemon, it is one of the best out there. Having the ability to protect your teammates is super valuable. Having the ability to defog away hazards is really nice to have, and of course, setting up screens is just so key to pick up wins in certain situations. Now, if we're looking at Pokemon that I would pair this with, obviously Pokemon that don't appreciate being burned or poisoned or even paralyzed are really nice to have. Definitely, I would not pair this with something like a Suicune because you do want to be able to rest up, and you can't do that with the terrain up. Obviously, if you're relying on a Pokemon with Guts, then I don't think this Pokemon is the best to pair with, but this Pokemon needs to pretty much have Wish Passers with it. If you have Wish Passers with this Pokemon, you're in a great spot. You'll be able to take tons of hits, and of course, Tapu Fini can kind of protect them from getting paralyzed, poisoned, or burned. Now, where would I draft this Pokemon? I would definitely say I have to draft this Pokemon within the first 3 rounds. Definitely not round 1. Probably towards the end of round 2 or beginning of round 3, just because if this Pokemon is gone, then it's tough to find something that can replace it. Obviously, there is Primarina and Azumarill, which share the typing, but they do different things. Overall, this Pokemon should be found in Tier 2, in my opinion, in most tier drafts, just because there are so many better options for water and fairy types, and just pairing them together into a Pokemon that doesn't get recovery is not the greatest situation in the world. It's not the most ideal thing, but again, if it is in Tier 2, you're getting tons of value. To me, Tier 1 is just too high, and I would rather give the Pokemon a chance to be drafted than not. So that's why I would say Tier 2 is the best place for it. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Pokemon Profile on Tapu Fini. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and of course subscribe to the channel for more Pokemon content, because I upload tons of Pokemon videos. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to Roshan for the beautiful graphics work. His Twitter is in the description below. If you're looking for work done, I highly recommend him. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts on Tapu Fini in the comment section below, and let me know which Pokemon you want to see the profile on next. We're going to be covering the next 2 Tapus, and then we'll be finished for the Tapus, and then we'll be moving on to your suggestions. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time.